My name's Debra Workman, and we're in the ghost parlor at the Crescent Hotel. I am the ghost supervisor for the ghost tours at the 1886 Crescent Hotel, and I'm starting my 10th year.
Wow, 10 years.
Yes.
Time flies, right?
Yes, it does. Very much so.
Can you provide a brief history of the Crescent Hotel and its significance to the local Eureka Springs community?
Sure. So the hotel began being built in 1884. Took 2 years to build the hotel. And she opened in 1886 as a luxury hotel. She was supposed to be the premier hotel west of the Mississippi. And she brought, of course...
That was weird.
Yes.
We're in a haunted hotel, and one of the lights just went off. One of my lights just went off.
So she brought to the town vacationers, people who came from all over Arkansas, Missouri, in states in this area, and they came to the mountains for a luxury retreat. Eventually, what they found was that in the winter, of course, it was much more difficult. We are all hills, curves, and mountains. So getting around in snow and ice is much more difficult. And that's when they opened the Crescent College for Young Women. It was a conservatory with a strong emphasis on instrumental and vocal music. And these were wealthy young women who came from families all over the United States. They stayed here during the off season of the hotel. And in the high season, it would turn back into an actual hotel. Eventually, when the Depression hit, the hotel closed because financially they couldn't keep it up. And that's when Norman Baker arrived. He was opening a cancer-curable hospital. And we all know there's no cure for cancer, so he was quite the con man. He was here about 22 months. And during that time, he was welcomed with open arms. It's the Depression. People don't have jobs. They can't feed their families. It was a very poor area at that point. And when he came into town, he said he would furnish everybody with a job, and that's pretty much what he did. The hospital was packed, and so people worked here. At the end of the 22 months, Norman was arrested. When the hospital closed, then it stayed closed for a period of time. And between then and 1997, it's had over about 10 owners. 1997, Marty and Elise Rennick arrived. They were preservationists. They had already purchased the Basin Park Hotel when they came up to check out the Crescent, fell in love with her, and purchased her. And they spent about $7 million in 7 years to restore her back to the Victorian time period. And that's where she remains today.
What are some of the most popular ghost stories or paranormal encounters that are reported by guests at the Crescent Hotel?
Well, I think the most popular one is Michael. Michael is on the 2nd floor. He was here when the hotel was built, so he's been here the longest of the spirits that we know about. He fell from the 4th floor while trying to get the attention of a young woman and landed on a beam in room 218. And that's where he remains to this day. And he's a little bit of a trickster. Keep in mind, he's a 17-year-old boy. So he likes to hide things. He likes to open the balcony doors. That's a very popular, and people test that all the time. They lock the door, they jiggle it inside and out because it leads out to their balcony. They can't get it open, and in the middle of the night, it'll fly open. And so we assume that's Michael. And he travels on the 2nd floor. It's not unusual for other rooms to talk about having things coming up missing. He also likes to mess with electronics. So you'll turn the TV on, watch the news, and the next morning you turn it on, and it won't even come on. So he's always fiddling with things. People have talked about having towels tied in knots, the curtains being tied up, things of that sort.
So Can you share any personal experiences or encounters that you've had while conducting tours at the Crescent?
Sure. So the very first encounter I had, I came in one morning it was probably February, and this was even before I had started tours. I was coming in for a rehearsal and got behind the fireplace, was walking behind the fireplace, and I heard loud and clear, Debra, and that's my first name. And I turned. There was no one in the hotel at that point, no one in the lobby, which is a rarity, but it was cold and rainy. It was just yucky. Nobody around. I could see Chantel at the front desk. I turned back around, started moving, and I heard it again, Debra, just like somebody calling me. So I went back to the front desk. I said, Chantel, did you call my name? And she said, well, no, I didn't even know you were here. And it was loud and clear, and it was a male voice. And I said, well, it must be a spirit, and they know who I am. So that's one. Probably, I've had two in the morgue. I have a large Victorian hat I wear, and it has a huge hat pin. And standing by the meat locker one night, I could feel that hat pin sliding in and out. And that can't happen unless someone's pulling on it. My assumption was that a guest was standing beside me and trying to be humorous. And I turned. Now my back is pretty much against the meat locker, and there's nobody there on either side. I turned back, it started up again, and finally I just put my hand up there and it quit. But I think the most surprising one to me was coming into the autopsy room and seeing a figure of a man in a Victorian type suit goose stepping into the room.
Goose stepping?
Yeah, you know, marching like, and lifting those legs up and kicking out. Mm-hmm. And I froze, and it disappeared very, very quickly. And it was like I even remember, it was like a plaid suit. And when I came upstairs, my manager said, Debra, you look like you've seen a ghost. And I said, I think I have. I've seen something. And I am pretty skeptical, so it takes a lot for me to be convinced that I have seen something.
What or who do you think the goose stepping gentleman was?
Well, you know, there was a party here when the hotel opened. And I don't know if this is a spirit we don't know about, but my manager said he'd had somebody else mention it to him before. So it could be somebody from the party that was roaming around, having a good time. And then I've had the pleasure of seeing Morris. I was taking tickets one night up here on the 4th floor, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw that little orange tabby cat and that tail flipping. And it was the back side of him. I got chills. I walked down there, and there was nothing there.
And Morris was the hotel's cat.
Right. Morris lived here for 21 years, and we know people talk about seeing him, especially kids, and talk about feeling him. They feel him brush up against their legs.
So what are some unique features or architectural elements of the Crescent Hotel that visitors should pay attention to either during the tour or just during their stay here?
Well, you know, we're built of limestone. The walls are about 18 inches thick. It was dry bricked, meaning it was used no mortar. We sit on top of Crescent Mountain, which is also limestone, and that sits on top of Crescent Spring, which runs underneath. So all of those factors lead toward, many believe, paranormal activity. So that's one of the things that we kind of talk about.
I know the answer to this one already, but are there any particular rooms or areas of the hotel that are known for frequent paranormal activity?
Well, Miss Theodora is room 419. And Miss Theodora was, we believe, here during the time of Norman Baker. We're not sure what she did, whether she was a secretary or personal assistant, or if she worked on the nursing staff. But she's very particular. She was a middle-aged woman. She's seen outside of her room digging in her purse, looking for the keys to the room. And people oftentimes stop and ask her, "Can I help you?" And she always responds with, "Oh no, I'm just looking for my keys." And they may move away and turn back, and she's not there. Now, her room is very important to her. She does not like that room messed up. She wants everything in its place where it should be all the time. So if you empty your pockets onto the nightstand, oftentimes, especially men, will find that their coins have been stacked by denomination. You might kick off your shoes in the room, and you'll come back and find them straightened up against the wall or the bed. And if she doesn't like you, it's a whole different story. Now, does not like conflict. So arguments, that type of thing really upset her. And we have a story I've heard two stories. And one of them was within a few weeks ago that a couple had an argument and came back and found their suitcase packed and on the bed, locked up and ready to go. So if you upset her too much, that's exactly what she'll do.
What about some of the other spirits?
So Brecky is on the second floor, and he was here during the college day. He was the son of Richard Thompson, who was president of the college, and Mary Breckenridge. Mary taught here. She taught health and French, and she had a nursing degree. And it's not unusual for kids to ask about Brecky. They'll stop at the front desk. They say, "I played with a little boy. He had long blonde hair and wore a funny blue-colored suit, and I was just wondering if he was still here because I wanted to play some more." So he's seen on the second floor, in the laundry room, various places. He loves to play ball, and on the second floor, he throws the ball against the wall, and that's how people are first introduced to him. So it's not unusual to hear about Brecky. And then the nurse on the third floor is seen during what we call the witching hour, early morning. Guests will hear a loud, squeaky wheel. And the funny thing about this wheel is that it's rolling on a wooden floor. That's why you can hear it so easily. And our floors are carpeted. And if they open up the door, what they see is a gurney with a body on it, covered by a sheet, and being pushed by a nurse in an old-type nurse's uniform. They can't talk to her. She just moves. And she goes down the hallway toward the elevator. And we believe she is possibly bringing a body out of the annex area during the cancer curable hospital days.
Okay. What are some common misconceptions or myths about the paranormal activity or the spirits at the Crescent Hotel that you encounter during your tours?
Well, we don't believe that every knock on a door or on a wall is paranormal activity, and we tell guests that. Because guests come here, lots of people know that this hotel is haunted, so they like to play tricks on our guests as well. We encourage them to take photos, but not everything is an orb. People believe we have orbs, which we do, but it could just be a dust particle. So a lot of times they're looking to find something desperately. And we remind them, they don't just appear magically, and they don't appear when we call them necessarily. So it's not likely. It's more likely you're going to catch something out of the corner of your eye. People take we encourage pictures because we think that's oftentimes, if they take 3 or 4 pictures right in a row, they may have something in one that's not in the others. And that might clue them in that they have something. We do see mist sometimes outside up on the 4th floor, and it often shows up as a purple mist. Now, Norman's favorite color was purple, and whether that has a relationship to Norman, we don't really know. We are not necessarily experts, but we keep learning constantly.
Yeah. How do you prepare visitors for the possibility of encountering paranormal phenomena during the tour?
We always tell them that there is no guarantee they're going to see anything or feel anything, but we really encourage them to use those 5 senses to open themselves up to relax a little bit. They've been doing stuff all day long because they're here on vacation, most of them. And so we encourage them to use their eyes, listen, use their nose to see what they can smell. You know, one of our spirits, Dr. Ellis, smoked a pipe, and he always used cherry pipe tobacco. And so it's oftentimes somebody will say, I smell something kind of sweet. And they may smell it and nobody else in the group does.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of that is that being open to feeling something or being aware of something's touching you, that type of thing. So we just really, you know, tell them to stay as open as possible and see what happens.
Are there any historical artifacts or objects in the hotel that are associated with paranormal stories or experiences?
Well, you know, we found bottles in 2019 when they were digging up a compost pile, and those are located in the morgue. We don't know positively that there's anything connected to those bottles, but that it would not be surprising in the least. And then, of course, some of the things that are in the trophy cases in the room and out in the hallways are extremely old, things that they have found. So there's that possibility. But I don't know of anything per se that always picks up something.
Can you share any behind-the-scenes stories or any interesting anecdotes about the Crescent Hotel that visitors might not know?
So we have a bowling alley down in the spa area, and that's reminiscent from the college days. And speaking with somebody from the spa one time, they talked about hearing a little girl sing during the Christmas holidays. Mm-hmm. And so it was a very quiet day in the spa. So they went out to see who this little girl was and couldn't find her, but could hear her clear as a bell. So those types of things, when guests come, they should talk to our other staff members, because sometimes they have experiences that we're not even aware of necessarily. And I know that the guides, all of the guides, at some point, if they're fortunate enough, have an experience. And they come back and talk about those things when they're done with their tour, that they saw a shadow, they felt something touch them, and they're here all the time. So they don't take it as a bad sign, or at least I don't, because I think the ghosts become very aware of them and know who they are. And so they're reaching out to them.
How has the reputation of the Crescent Hotel as a haunted location influenced its popularity and visitor experience?
I think, well, number one, we're busy. You know, even during COVID, we shut down for 6 weeks. But as soon as we opened up, we revamped tours and went a different way and changed it up. And those tours were packed because people have heard about it. Now, sometimes they get here, they know nothing about the hotel, mm-hmm. and they're very surprised. But I think everyone has that interest. Even if you're a skeptic and not a believer, you kind of want to know, is it possible? And I think that leads lots of people. And then we have people who come here regularly. You know, this may be the 13th or 14th time they've been on a tour because they love the stories of the Crescent. Because along with the ghosts, you get the history of the hotel. And that's a key ingredient. If we didn't have that history, we wouldn't have those spirits. They all start from the very beginning. So I also believe that people want to know, does something else out there really exist, or what happens to us? And we don't know what happens to us when we die. We have our own thoughts and feelings about it. But I think people are interested. And I'm sure the TV shows that are on now have spiked that interest. But we have been busy for a long period of time. So I think it's knowing more about the hotel and what's here.
Tell me a little bit about the overall atmosphere and ambiance of the Crescent during different times of the year.
I think anytime the hotel is quieter, it seems eerie. When we get into a slowdown period, it just seems a little darker. If there's construction going on, there seems to be more activity. If we're painting or rebuilding or repairing, lots of repair stuff going on, it seems more active. And people believe that October, of course, is Halloween, so everybody wants to come then. And I do believe we're busy during October, but sometimes I feel like it slows down the activity just a little bit in those months when the hotel is packed with people.
Tell me about the annual event that the hotel puts on called ESP, or Eureka Springs Paranormal Weekend. How long have you been involved with it? And just sort of tell me a little bit about the event itself.
So I've been involved with ESP for 10 years. Will be the 10th year this year. It's held the last weekend in January, the first weekend in February. And we bring in 2 paranormal investigators. Larry is one of them, and Dave Harkins out of Missouri. And they are very different backgrounds. Larry has that science background, and Dave grew up somewhat in the paranormal world and has that spiritual background dealing with it. So it's an exciting time. They do presentations for us, and we bring people in and open up all the ghost rooms. So it gives folks the opportunity to go in and investigate. They can do that on their own, or they can go with Dave and Larry. We open it up and they can go with either one. They can go with somebody and then switch in the middle and go on their own. But they get the opportunity to go into the actual rooms. Dave and Larry bring their equipment with them, which gives us a whole different atmosphere of what we can find and what we can see. And the cool thing for us is we continue to learn more. It helps us to learn more about our spirits and the activity and what's here. We keep it small. We do about 60 people each weekend. So it's kind of become a little family. We have a lot of people that return, and we have lots of new people. And you don't have to have any experience. It could be, one of my favorites was a dad and daughter. She wanted to do this for her birthday, and she was probably 17 or 18, and Dad came with her, and they had a great time. And it was obvious Dad was pretty skeptical, but as the weekend went on, it wasn't that we won him over, but he was much more open to what we were doing. And so the connections you make with those people are fantastic. Some come in, they're paranormal investigators themselves, and they just want to learn more and see what's going on here at the hotel. But a lot of people who come have no experience whatsoever. So it's a fun time. We really enjoy doing that. And it's the only time, really and truly, you get to go in the rooms, because those rooms are rentable, so they're always full.
Yeah,
it's very rare.
Yeah, and I've been doing ESP since the very beginning, and it's by far my favorite event, and I do a lot of events. Absolutely love it. The Crescent Hotel is like my second home. Absolutely love coming here. The people here are so family oriented. They're so friendly. Yeah, the Crescent's awesome. So for people that want to come stay at the Crescent, experience the hospitality, the spirits, what is the best way to do that? Is it website, call?
Sure. I encourage you to go on the Crescent Hotel, the 1886 Crescent Hotel website. Sign up for the emails. The emails only come from the hotel. They do not sell their lists or anything. You may also receive some emails from our sister hotel, which is the Basin Park, which is downtown. So that clues you into what activities are going on, what's happening here. If you want to go on a ghost tour, then you go to Reserve Eureka. And the key there is to be sure that you sign up for the Crescent Hotel ghost tour. There are other ghost tours in town, and so sometimes people just look up ghost tour. You want to sign up for the Crescent Hotel ghost tour. And we have openings. Tours are open 6 months in advance. So currently I am open all the way till the end of December. And I continually open tours as we need them. So we offer a regular tour. We offer the expert and expanded tour, which is a 10 o'clock tour and tells you more about Norman Baker. And you get to see some things you don't normally get to see on a regular tour. And then on Fridays and Saturdays, and currently Thursday right now, because we're in high season, we offer a kids tour. And it's a 45-minute tour designed for kids 12 and under. So that tour lets kids go who are the greatest ghost hunters, and their parent gets to go free. So you pay for the kid's ticket and parent goes free. So we offer 3 different types. So there's something for everybody out there. And we encourage you to take the tour. We think you learn a lot about the hotel and the spirits, and the guides will visit with you afterwards. They're happy to talk ghosts with you. So it's a great opportunity.
Well, I really appreciate you talking with me. I wanted to do something a little bit different. There's a million videos. I've got a bunch on my channel about Norman Baker and the hauntings at the Crescent Hotel, but there's not really a whole lot that I've found that really talks about the hotel itself.
Right.
You know, and sort of approaches it from the perspective of that it's a destination that has a lot of things to do, a lot of history here. Much more so than just 100% haunted stuff. So I really appreciate you talking and answering my questions.
Thank you. It was fun.
We will talk to you soon.
Okay.